Hi there, everybody. Welcome to live coverage of the third match in this Populism and Progressivism series. It's Martin Smith here, along with Jamie Tyler, the former Pixorize and US striker.
That's right, Martin. Coming to the ground Sundays, and you do get that buzz of excitement. I'm really looking forward to it.
I believe we're in for quite a match today in this league match between the Democrats in blue and their rivals, the Republicans in red. Oh, and should I say, the FA has recently put out some major changes in rules or reforms to the game. Okay, I can't keep this up. Well, let's not miss the kickoff, shall we? First, notice the staircase in the background. Does it look familiar? Well, it should, because this Progressivism Staircase is a recurring symbol for populism and progressivism. Progressives aim to make a more equal and fair society for all Americans. This era was dominated by social progress through many reforms, which is symbolized by the steady progress you would make as you climb up a progressivism staircase. Next, take a look at the game time on the scoreboard. This game has just started with a game time of 0 minutes and 0 seconds. This start or initiation of the game should help you remember the term initiative. Initiatives allowed people in some states to directly introduce bills to their state legislatures. To help you remember this fact, we've drawn the crowd below the scoreboard with a sign that reads, "We want new rules." These new rules or reforms demanded by the crowd should help you remember the term initiatives, which allowed the common people to directly propose new laws for approval. Next, notice this referee getting swayed by the angry crowd. I don't know what they're angry about. I mean, the game has just started. Anyways, this referee should help you remember the term referendum. Referendum was a reform that allowed people in some states to directly vote on certain bills instead of relying on their representatives in government. Just like how this game is being swayed by the angry crowd, referendum allowed the common people to vote directly on new laws. Afterwards, take a look at this referee on a phone call. This call is here to help you remember the term recall. Notice how this referee is also holding up a red card while ejecting a player from the game. Hey you, get off the field. This is because recall was a reform that allowed voters in some states to remove politicians from office prematurely and to hold special elections in order to replace them. Recall allowed voters to remove bad representatives before their term expired, much like how this referee is removing a bad player from the field before the game ends. Lastly, take a look at the touchline where the coach is choosing his lineup for the game. Wait, why is he sitting in a director's seat? And is that a director's cut he's holding? That's right, this director should help you remember the term direct primary. The direct primary was a change by the major political parties to allow citizens to directly decide who would be nominated for the presidential and local elections, just like choosing a lineup for a soccer game. Before, party candidates were chosen by elites hidden away in what were called smoke-filled rooms. The direct primary returned the power of nomination to the people. These 4 reforms, initiative, referendum, recall, and the direct primary, are the most important and frequently tested reforms of the progressive era. You should be comfortable with each of these terms and their meanings for your exam. Next, take a look at this shirt on fire. This shirt is here to help you remember the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire of 1911. The Triangle Shirtwaist Fire was a horrific fire at a garment factory in New York City, where 146 workers were killed when locked doors prevented their escape. The resulting public outcry led to stricter building and fire codes around the U.S. To help you remember this fact, we've drawn this burning shirt with a triangle design near this sign for the stadium fire exit. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at the actual players in this progressive soccer game. These players represent people you should know from the progressive era. First, take a look at this teddy bear. This teddy bear should help you remember Theodore Roosevelt, also known as Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt was a Republican elected in 1901 who served as the first progressive president. See how this Teddy is wearing hiking boots and a hiking cane? Who wears hiking gear to a soccer game anyways? Well, we've drawn this here because you should know that Teddy Roosevelt loved nature and was a key promoter for conservation. In his 2 terms as president, he protected over 230 million acres of land in the form of new national parks, national monuments, and national forests. Next, take a look at the square piece of coal in Teddy's hand. This square piece of coal should help you remember the Square Deal, Teddy's policy to help coal workers. The Square Deal aimed to make coal employers treat workers squarely, or fairly for their labor. This policy is important because this was the first time that a president sided with workers and labor instead of with their employers. Looking above, see how this Teddy is kicking over the Standard Oil barrel? This should help you remember that Teddy Roosevelt busted trusts, including the Standard Oil Company, as well as the Northern Securities Railroad Company. If you saw our previous scenes, you would know that many large companies, called trusts, monopolized markets like oil and railroads during the Gilded Age. Trust busting is an important theme of the Progressive era. Breaking up these large companies allowed competition to exist, thereby helping the general consumer. Teddy was selective about busting trusts, only breaking up companies that he felt exploited the public. Next, take a look at this robber holding a plate of filet steak. This robber with filet should help you remember the name Robert La Follette. That one's pretty good. Robert La Follette was a famous Republican senator who wanted to restore America to its democratic ideals. He was a tireless advocate of political reform during the Progressive era. Next, notice this player in red, covered in tattoos. Don't all famous players have tattoos these days? But this player's tattoos are a bit different. See the tattoo of a raft on his chest? This man with the raft tat should help you remember the name William Howard Taft. Taft was a Republican who won the election of 1908, serving as president after Teddy Roosevelt. Afterwards, notice how Taft is kicking a ball? This is here to help you remember the Bollinger Pinchot scandal. Gifford Pinchot was head of the U.S. Forestry Division and a prominent conservationist who was a friend of, you guessed it, Teddy Roosevelt. During the Taft administration, Bollinger was Secretary of the Interior who was against conservation. Pinchot attacked Bollinger in a letter, saying that Bollinger had illegally opened access to Alaskan coal fields. This fight caused Taft to remove Pinchot from office. What's important to know here is not the specifics of the fight between Bollinger and Pinchot, but rather that Teddy Roosevelt became very angry after his friend Pinchot was removed from office. We'll see how this plays out in the next election. Moving right, notice how our teddy bear has switched out his red jersey for a pair of moose antlers, and how he's doing the splits to trip up Taft. Oof, that's gotta hurt. We've drawn this here because Teddy was so angry about Pinchot that he ran for a re-election in 1912 as part of the independent Bull Moose Party. Teddy and Taft effectively split the Republican vote, allowing the Democratic candidate Woodrow Wilson to win in a landslide. That's why we've drawn this player in blue scoring a goal after this Teddy doing the splits has tripped up Taft. Let's take a closer look at our player in blue. See how his team is being sponsored by Sun Wheels? Sun Wheels should help you remember the name Woodrow Wilson, the last president of the Progressive era. Wilson was also the president of the US during World War I, but we'll get back to that in our future scenes about the war. Moving down, notice how Wilson is jumping over wood underneath him. This wood under Wilson should help you remember the Underwood Tariff, a policy by Wilson to reduce tariffs or fees on exports. This reduction of fees made goods cheaper, helping consumers buy more with their money. Next, take a look at this heavy bag of clay Wilson is holding. That's a ton of clay. This is here to help you remember the Clayton Antitrust Act, which gave more rights to unions and made it easier to break up trusts. Lastly, notice how Wilson is holding a stash of bank bills. This is here to help you remember the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. This act created the Federal Reserve, a central agency that still exists today to monitor inflation and decide just how much money should be printed for circulation. And that's all for this match. Well, Martin, Teddy Roosevelt is just such a lovely player to watch on the ball. He beats his man in a blink of an eye with the pace that he's got as well. That's right, Jamie. I gotta say that Taft lacked the quality today, but Wilson did put in a good display. Well, that's all from us for now. This is Martin and Jamie again from Pixorize TV. Until next time, thank you and good night.
Thanks for watching. For more videos like these, click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the interactive version of this image at Pixorize.com by following the link in the description. If you like what we're doing, share with your friends on social media, and we'll keep making great content like this. We'll see you next time.